Are you well fed, Eva? Are you a well fed kidder? Or a well fed kidder? Hey, cool kids. We're going to talk about some fun stuff. I was just brainstorming. You know, I want to keep making you guys content, but you guys probably want to hear so much about my coin collection, right? Slash stack, right? So, we got to come up with some cool ideas, right? Things to talk about. So, with silver going up, I just want to talk to you guys about how to get silver, right? When you're on a budget and silver's high, right? So, first of all, I want to preface this by saying if silver gets absurdly high, you might want to look at the gold to silver ratio and determine whether or not you want to be buying silver at all. Okay, so that's step one. Determine whether you want to be buying silver at all. So say silver shot up to $50 an ounce next month, but gold stayed right where it's at, right? Well, you're probably not buying silver at that point. There you go. Well, you might be. I'd have to see what the GSR on that would be, but you might still be buying silver. Let's say silver, or let's do this differently. Gold's going down. Silver's going up. Silver hits 50. Gold's at 1,500. You're definitely buying gold, I would say. Somewhere in that ballpark. So you want to look at that GSR. Now, you also want to be looking at other things, because it might be smart to be buying real estate. Okay? With your gold and silver you've already bought, right? Because if real estate takes a tumble, right, like a major 2008 kind of tumble, right, you might want to look at other assets besides precious metals to have your cash-olies in, all right? You might be looking to, and then later on, when real estate recovers, sell it, buy, and silver's down, buy silver. You see how this works? Well, anyway, this video specifically is about ways to get your silver without paying an arm and a leg. So the obvious first one, okay, is, everybody here's got bills to pay. We got to pay the mortgage, we got to pay the automobiles, the telephone bills, and all the bills, okay? The tax bill, that's the one that really, hurt, stuffs my craw, right? Yeah, Uncle Sam, all up in my business. But that's a different discussion, and I don't want to get pegged by YouTube, so we'll just drop that one real quick, huh? But the key is you got to pay the bills and still stack and still do everything else. Say you want to have a 401k, right? So what are some ways you can do that? Well, how can you get into this deluxe, premier, shiny white metal, or the gold stuff, or the platinum stuff, or any of that other stuff? And the key is a couple things. One, you got to have a budget, guys. Yep, step one, make a budget. Well, step two, because remember, step one is determining whether you're buying precious metals, if they're even a buy. Okay, so step two is budget, budget, budget. Don't fudge it, okay? So you have a certain dollar allocation per month for whatever you're buying. That's called dollar cost averaging, okay? That's one approach. Another approach is you want to have a base stack. So you might decide to get into a position at a certain amount. A lot of times it's 50 ounces, 100 ounces. Mine was 300 ounces. That was my goal, my base stack goal. And so over time, once I got my 300 ounce position, right, I was able to then kind of broaden my horizons on what I bought. So I started to get into maybe more collectible stuff, and maybe not. Don't get me wrong. I'm still mostly a stacker. In my opinion, you can probably tell by the prices I pay for these coins that you're seeing that I am definitely very cognizant of the spot price. Now, there are other ways to get silver, though, that don't involve you spending a dime, but they require time, right? And time, it depends on how much you value your time, okay? If your time is very valuable, i.e. you could be using it as with a part-time job, right? Instead of, searching rolls of, $50 hunting for a 40% half, maybe a commemorative every now and again. But say that doesn't work for you. You could actually be out working as an EMT or as a part-time gig on your spare time or whatever. Maybe you're a roofer, maybe you're a construction worker, maybe you've got a skill, a trade. You're a plumber. You're a maybe you're a private business owner, and all your time is going to that business. Okay, and you don't have time to spare for that. Okay, maybe if that's the case, then your options are a little more limited, right? But what you can do every time you go into the store with a Coinstar machine, you can check it. Okay, I have found. Every time I've found it, I make a video about it, so check my history. But I found a fair amount of silver in the Coinstar in the last couple of years. Okay, more than you would expect. More than you would expect. Now, actually, I can tell you, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's nice. I got, for example, a dime just last week. I think it was 1964 D Roosevelt dime. It cost me nothing. It was literally not even 10 cents because I just grabbed it out of the coin tray. Okay. But you could do roll hunting. You could take a second job just for silver. But another thing that a lot of people don't think about is you could just not spend money on things you don't need. Okay. So this is more of a prioritization style, right, of stacking. So what you would do is you would cut out, so I'll give you a perfect example. When I first started stacking, I was making $10 an hour. $10 an hour was not a lot of money, even then. It would be way less now. And for that $10 an hour, I was able to stack my first 350 ounces. Okay. And the way I did it is I quit eating out. Right? I didn't go watch movies, right? I didn't waste gas. I didn't go on vacations, right? I didn't do any of that stuff. I did go fishing, right? Fishing, if you're doing the basic line fishing, right? At the lake or in the river. You can do it. I always caught my own bait with a throw net, so I use shad primarily as my bait. I caught catfish and, the occasional whatever else got on the line, usually a snapping turtle, right? But that, you can keep yourself very entertained, and here's the thing. So I'm spending less money on food because I'm eating all these fish, right? Now, this is an extreme example. I'm not saying you have to do this. You don't have to go to this extent. But when you're working on a budget, $10 an hour, you got to do something, right? So I was able to get, and if you remember, I told you that story about those cap bust dimes I got at just over melt. I was able to get my base stack on $10 an hour when most people making $10 an hour were barely able to make ends meet because they had to have a new car. They had to have this. They had to have that. Okay. And I am telling you, where there's a will, there's a way. You might be stacking a little bit every month, but every little bit counts, okay? That's the thing about that. So you got options, okay? Another option, okay? Make a YouTube channel, right? Make cool content and then ask for donations. Beg, plead, please give me free silvers, and then you can give them stickers or something, right? And hand out you gotta reciprocate, but maybe you're giving out something really cool that isn't silver, like, for example, this bag. That bag is probably way cooler than virtually any silver coin that you could get, right? And I don't imagine it costs very much to make, you see? So that's another option. I'm just throwing options out there, guys. If you're creative, you can get silver. And, people with silver, have you noticed how generous the stacking community is? people with this stuff, they're more than happy to give it to you. Now, this is not. I'm not saying go grab everybody's silver. What I'm saying is, say you're in the situation I'm talking about here, where you ain't got a lot of money, but you want to stack some silver for you and your family. Well, I got no problem with somebody in that position, working, doing what they got to do, hustling to get silver. As long as you aren't stealing it, as long as people are giving it to you, how you got it's really not that important to me. I'm not going to sit here and judge you. I might be like, haha, naughty, naughty, but it'll be a wink and a nod. Because I get it, because this stuff's addictive, okay? I mean, are you guys not paying attention to, this stuff, it's a freaking addiction, and you gotta have it. You gotta stack more, right? You gotta catch them all. It's like Pokemon up in here, right? So, just some thoughts, some ways to get silver. There's other ways, too. I'm going to tell you. There's medical equipment made of silver. I used to work where I worked. They used to have EEG, right? EEG little, wires. And on the end of those wires, right, was a sterling silver cup. And I noticed very quickly that they were throwing these away. Throwing them in the trash. And each of them had about the same amount of silver as a half dime, by the way. So about half of what a dime's got in it. It's about a, buck's worth of silver. Well, if one went bad, you threw it away, right? Well, why would you throw it away? You just grab that, the end of it, and strip off all the plastic and stuff, and you've got a hunk of sterling silver. Now, they switched to this new stuff. It's some sort of sulfur and silver sulfate is what it is. Now, I have heard of people using the probes for... there's a way you can extract the silver from it, but it involves chemicals, and it takes a whole bunch of them. And I throw them away quite a bit. So for the EEG, I'm actually looking into it, but I don't know that it's particularly viable. But I know as long as I fill out the requisition form from the hospital, and your manager's okay with it, which they are, because it's literally going in the trash. As long as you put in the request form, that's how it works where I work. That's another way you could get free silver. But you probably don't work in a hospital or with EEG, and that's okay though, because all you gotta do is know someone who does, right? And that's another way you could get free silver. There are sterling silver trach tubes that are used, okay? Especially in the old days, but they're still made. And remember, silver is an antimicrobial, and it's used in a lot of different products. Another way you could do it, again, this is you're recycling here. This is all recycling silver. You could actually start looking into getting a hold of. Now you notice I must have bought these when silver was much higher, because the prices are getting higher, right? But I realize I've been stacking for since 2011, so that's a little more reasonable. You could get permission from all kinds of places to get a hold of old X-rays, all kinds of stuff that you could recycle. And we're not to the point yet where going through the dump is financially viable. But there may be a day where actually going to the landfill and digging for silver is viable. Especially if there's no other jobs around. I mean, this is pretty catastrophic situation. Well, that's a low mintage. Yeah. Pretty catastrophic situation, but definitely could happen. And just knowing how to scrap stuff, knowing what is and isn't silver. So this is a knowledge-based skill. You have to go gather that knowledge. And if you have the willingness, want, need, desire, you could do that. You could make that happen. And you could get silver. So beg and plead. You could listen. There are homeless people who sit out there panhandling, who make a pretty decent amount of money considering the amount of work they're putting in, right? Now, I'm not suggesting this, but I'm saying as a last resort, you could then parlay that into silver. Another option, you could go to the pawn shop or coin store and say, hey, is there anything you need me to do around here, right? Sweep, you could clean the glass on the cases. You could, just generally help out. Is there anything I can do around here? And in exchange, maybe get some silver. I don't know how viable that is. They'd have to trust you is the problem with that one. And if you're in that situation, are they going to trust you? I don't know. I can't speak to that. Now, if you build a relationship with them, there's definitely potential for that. But just remember, once you start getting the silver, and you get an eye for what sells and what's valuable, you could potentially get silver at melt and then sell it for double melt and then start making your own way, using your stack to grow your stack, right? So that's another one. If I buy a semi-numismatic piece, right? Say I have a funny feeling about this coin right here, and say my feeling's right. Say I'm on the money. I thought this coin, because it's so rare, people were finally going to start giving it some love. I paid, what did I pay for this? $35.99. Okay. But all of a sudden, because there's a mintage of like 40,000 on these, all of a sudden people want them. And they're selling for double that. Right? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying what if. Okay. Well, I'm going to take that and I'm going to go with it. And then I start buying these New Way Owls, right? I just got a sinking suspicion that the New Way Owl is going to be hot because everybody likes the Coin Guy, which is on the Spectacular channel. And the Coin Guy's always talking about owls, right? Or maybe they're really big fans of the Tetradrone. And, Sal's did a video about them pretty recently. At Salivate Metals, for example. I'm just name dropping here. Free publicity for you guys. Now, all of a sudden it gets hot because those guys are talking about it. Well, boom, now I'm selling my New Way Owls for way more than I paid for them. Life is good, right? And all of a sudden I'm growing a business and I start just wheeling and dealing, man. Playing the odds. You can actually do very well with new issue semi-numismatics. A lot of people don't realize that. It's not something I'm specialized in, but there are people that do very well with them. A lot of them have channels right here on YouTube. So, very, very viable strategy there. But you got to start somewhere. Where do you start? Well, you can start from the rock bottom, and then depending on what you stack, could determine how you end up in the end game. And that is on you. But isn't it cool to think that, a homeless person, we just did a scenario where a homeless person all of a sudden has a coin shop all because of their knowledge, Knowledge is power, guys. Knowledge, that's what you need. So if you can learn, right, and a little luck, right, there's always a little luck. But if you can learn and disseminate information and then turn it to your will and create a market of viable products and that are wanted, needed, desired, or required, or services, you can succeed in this country for now until those who believe that all things should be based on things other than merit and skill start taking over, and then everybody starts to suffer, right? Because the incompetent start getting the win. Anyway, that's a different discussion. We're getting into philosophy. Have an amazing day. I hope you find all the collectibles of your dreams. If you don't blame me because it's not my fault. I tried. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye.